Okay.
On street, Main Street. I'm taking this over here. Hold up. You're going live.
You're participating tonight?
I might pop in and say hi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Intimacy Chronicles. I am your host, Queen Jackie, and to my right,
Rich, also known as the Quiet Storm,
lovingly submitted.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Rainy day in Baltimore, right?
Rainy day in Baltimore. You can ready to sing? It's a rainy night in Baltimore.
I want to go outside.
That wasn't the song I had in mind, but okay. And to my left, my short timer.
Yeah, but short but meaningful.
Timer.
Yeah.
Short but steady.
Oh, God. So, how was y'all weekend?
Good weekend. A lot of rain. Very, very busy.
Mm-hmm.
My last 2 weekends, between Labor Day, the long weekend, and last weekend, I think I did enough in one day where it will be most people's weekend. But
Okay.
I actually got a chance to, I think Saturday night after Corinthians, we went to a comedy show with my
Okay.
down at the Comedy Factory. They had what's his name? The guy who did Black Jesus.
Oh, Slink? Is it Slink Johnson?
I didn't know too much about him, but my wife knew about him. And
We're friends.
Yeah.
He's funny.
Yeah, he was the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a nice night. It was, the weather was kind of dreary, but it was, we had a good time.
That's good. Hi, Brandon. Okay, I'm looking forward to having you on. What did we do? After we left Corinthians, went back to my house, we played cards.
With the family?
Yeah, we played Tump for money.
Yeah, okay.
And
where was my invite? See how you do?
I know, my bad. You play Tump?
I play, yeah. Play
You
Tump,
good?
Rummy.
Okay. Yeah, I had to invite you the next go round. We had a good time. I think we played till about 2:30 in the morning. At that point, I was like, listen, I'm sleepy. You start to spread, all the red cards start looking alike.
So was any alcohol involved?
It was a lot of alcohol involved.
Let's
so
say adult libations.
Exactly. And I'm like, listen.
So I understand it's a couple?
It's a couple.
Okay.
So let me make sure Mark can hear that.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the only thing about, when you have family, it's always a lot of fun. And plus, my day, with at Corinthians, we had a good time at Corinthians, of course. And at the same time, we were end up going out. But
I said they can have a seat right in there. I'm not ready for them yet.
Yeah, so next time you having a family get together, I want to I hope I get an invite because, I think I met a lot, not most, but I met a good bit of your inner circle.
You have, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I would like to think
they
I'm part
act
of
like your family, so.
Yeah. I like to think I'm part of the inner circle.
Oh, get out your feelings, man. So Dr. Love will not be joining us tonight. He's still recuperating. And
Get well soon, bro. Get well
yeah,
soon.
so we miss him tonight. Hi, Natasha. Thanks for joining me. Interestingly enough, though, before our guests come in, would you be able to work with your wife?
Work with my wife?
Mm-hmm.
In what capacity?
Start a business together?
Yeah, I could.
Okay.
My wife is, we complement each other, even though...
It's true. That's true, yeah.
She's my person that she's my stringer bell. She gets she's very meticulous when it comes to that, but, and Yeah, I could easily work with my wife.
Okay, that's good because this couple has been working together for quite some time. Um, the thing I love about your wife comes ready to do battle if somebody messes with someone in your circle.
Yeah.
She is like ready for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, it's like
She's
she sits
feisty.
there, yeah,
Yeah.
and wait, like she scans the room,
Mm-hmm.
like let me make sure I don't have to take my shoes off.
Yeah. I know. Well, you say opposites attract.
Yeah.
She's and you know what? That's how I've always been attracted to confident, strong women.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that women have to be bossy or anything like that, but sure and confident in themselves. Because I'm the type of person who, I believe in, like, for instance, if you gotta let your partner grow and be,
That is a fact.
secure in yourself
Yeah.
to let them mature and develop into what they want to do.
Right,
I don't
right.
care, like, if let's say she makes more money than me or whatever, I don't care, because we're a unit. So,
Yeah, and I think that's the whole thing because I think it shouldn't matter because the money is coming to one household.
please, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Natasha
matter.
says that she wouldn't be able to work with her spouse.
Well,
Why, Natasha? Um, could I? I think so. Yeah,
but
I think
what
so.
qualities? Okay, so let's say it's easy to say we could work with them, but what qualities you can think of, and I'll do the same thing, would be something that would be sort of a warning flag, where you might say, I could work with him, but I am concerned about.
He's too easygoing.
Okay.
Um, I think that's the thing that would probably really annoy me.
Okay.
Where because he's like, oh, just give the person a chance, or oh yeah, you can have that. I'm giving, but with restrictions.
Got you.
So Natasha says, I found early that he wants me to be successful, but not as successful or more successful than him. But I think that's probably in a lot of relationships. And when you think of it in that manner, wouldn't you have to say a lot of ego would play into that?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You have to understand, like, because being married for 20 years, we went through waves. We went through waves where um, I made a career change. She changed careers, yeah, at certain points, either me or her had to hold it down
Okay.
until I progressed in my career, and the same thing with her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's nothing to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because a successful you is a successful me. That's just me
It's
personally.
because it's about the unit.
Yeah.
And if you see it as anything else, you're not thinking unit.
Yeah.
You're thinking one way.
Yeah. And you can't. It's hard to be successful or be in a successful environment when you have that undertone. What they say, a divided house.
A house divided, yeah.
But one of the things that I would be as a warning flag, as wonderful as she is, um, she she can be impulsive, and
I'm guilty of that,
and
yeah.
and then when she has her mind made up, um, sometimes she asks me my opinion, um, and it's not really asking my opinion. She's selling me on
Yeah, I do
mind.
that too. I am
know,
definitely guilty of that. It's like
she's selling me on something she already made her mind up. So,
right.
And,
We just have to make sure you're on board.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it's that, and then sometimes I have to talk her off the cliff, and she's like, okay,
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it balances out. Hi Van, how are you? Natasha said she's had to hide income to keep his ego strong.
Yeah, I have a friend who, she's very very successful. At one time, she was working on Wall Street, and she had to do that.
Yeah.
And they were kind of in the same field, but she kind of jumped. They moved to different company.
Okay.
And she was definitely more successful than him, and she literally said she had to put open up
A separate.
yeah, the direct deposit where
Yeah.
like all bonuses and raises and stuff she would redirect.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I know a couple like that too. They have their joint account, and then she has two other accounts.
well, I'm gonna send the Natasha. I'll send you my routing number so you could
So she
redirect
can
some of
transfer some of
Yeah,
that direct deposit to your account.
baby, I hope you have that.
Now I've never had that issue because we always understand that it's still coming to the same household. So I gamble, and most people know that. So I may hit the lottery for about 5,000 or so, but it's still coming to the same household. It's not like, and my money goes back into the house. It shouldn't be an ego thing, but I do know that oftentimes it can be. But as long as you understand that it's about the team and not the one person, it really shouldn't be.
And they got to be trust because
Exactly.
And that's the thing about it when you hiding assets and stuff like that is there's a trust issue. And there's been times where she would tell me, she said, "Oh, you got a raise, or you got a bonus."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, because you're all up in there."
Yeah.
Like I said, I have, and like I said, the way my lifestyle is, I'm managing
the band, yeah.
So she can manage the household however she wants because that's less for me to worry about. So I'm already managing my personal side hustles or whatever. So I have no problem. Like I 95% of the decisions of the household, and sometimes even some investments. She's the one who's the neck that's turning the head.
Okay.
And I just need updates and statements and to be brief.
That's it, right? That's it.
I don't need to know how hard it was for you to turn this into this and then.
Well, now sometimes I will talk about that, because I need you to understand the skills it takes.
You need to understand how great you are.
Right, exactly. I want that acknowledgement, to flip some coins. We just sometimes want that little pat on the back.
I was on the phone with the bank for 2 hours today, and then okay, what happened? I just, so it's all good. Like I said, opposites attract.
And that's true. That's true.
You got to leverage strengths when it comes to stuff like that.
So Natasha says his position is secure and strong. I take calculated risk in mind. The security has allowed me to flourish. But what do you do about the ego? That's a great question, by the way.
You gotta, and I assume at this point y'all had conversations already. You have to be able to get through that because, you're gonna be successful, but you could be so much more, and you could be so much better if you guys are able to use some of that energy.
Right.
For the unit, he'll be successful by himself. She'll be successful. But if they can you really have to have a hard conversation, and sometimes it's the way you present yourself. It's like, look, I understand how you feel, but when if I'm successful, I feel as though you are this.
Right.
And let him let him be vulnerable, and hopefully he could take that cue and say how he feels, and just reassure. Unfortunately, you shouldn't have to reassure somebody, but if that's what it takes for y'all to grow and for them to get understanding, let's do it. Try to do it.
Well, it's interesting. I'm gonna read Sean's comment and then go back to Natasha. Sean says, "Some men have to put their pride to the side. It is a blessing to have a woman who makes more." Natasha says she's been married for 20 years and she thought it was all good.
Yeah,
And so does it, at 20 years, it doesn't change.
Right.
It should, but it doesn't.
And that's the reality of the situation after so long. It may not change, but and that's sad because in my opinion, Who knows? I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. But in my opinion, if you could pool some of that energy, y'all could do so much greater.
Right.
Because again, it's a level of it's not 100% trust there. You
Right.
gotta hide money. And what if he's doing the same thing? How would you feel?
Yeah, it's I guess it's different because again, each man is different.
Yeah.
If you just kind of focus on the team itself, all the money is coming into the same household.
Hmm. And
I think it would balance out if you
it
don't make
should.
it an issue.
But it's easy to say, like I said, we're not judging, we're not
Yeah,
judgmental.
no judgment.
But it's easy to say that a man should feel this way, and a man, we should be proud or this and that and the other. Yeah, that's the way it should be. But the reality is, we're here. We're here right now, and he doesn't feel that way. So um, try to discuss it. And
Yeah,
try
I will
to
just keep the lines of
yeah,
communication
yeah,
open with
and try
that.
to be
And
sensitive on how he might feel,
yeah,
and just and that reassurance, and say, look, put your pride aside. We could really cha-ching. You know what I mean?
yeah, and
And
Natasha, you close big deals. I mean, I know that firsthand. So you can package it for the sake of the team. This is what the team has. So, I think, and sometimes it doesn't matter how good you package it. That's always going to be an issue for some. So, what's he say? I didn't expect this. He said it was great until it happened, and I feel like I dull my shine or stifle my growth to keep peace. And that's another thing. As women, I think a lot of times we will do that in order to stroke the male ego.
and I would say for Natasha, thank you so much for your honesty, first of all, and for sharing that. But here's the deal: if y'all leave those feelings unchecked or unaddressed, what's going to happen is eventually it's a possibility that resentment could kick in, and then you're in a place that you don't know how you got there, and then you be at that point where no matter how much money y'all make,
It's going to be an
there's
issue.
no synergy between y'all.
Yeah.
And that's when a lot of time resentment kicks in, and that's a dangerous thing. Because I've seen that happen. Where where one voice isn't heard, or one person doesn't get a chance to express themselves, and then you start resenting, and that's the caveat to all that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your honesty, Natasha. I appreciate it. Thank you for being supportive. I certainly appreciate that. So we're going to bring our guest onto the show. I'm going to have Donna Stevenson and Cecil Robinson. And they work together. They are a couple that work together. And so it'll be an interesting conversation because then we can find out what brought them to want to work together and what are the challenges that they faced. So stay tuned, and when we come back, we'll have our guest on.
So our guests are coming in pretty soon, and again, um, it is a balancing act when you have a couple, because again, if there's no synergy, you can have some divisiveness, but at the same time, when there is synergy, you have what they call in the industry a power couple. So um, it's rewarding, but at the same time, you can have your pitfalls. And I think the main thing is, like I said, it's you got to be on the same page. You always have to be on the same page, and there's always a situation where when you both are on the same page, there's synergy, and that's where you have it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a wonderful thing when the two of you are on the same page. It could cause a lot of stress if you're not. and the words unspoken will build a wall between you.
Yeah, true.
So, without, oh, you wanna, oh, let me see. Yeah, okay, I'm good now. So my guests are here, and let me tell you, y'all look sharp, okay? Y'all look sharp. So I have Donna.
Good together. I mean,
Yes,
I'm like,
exactly. So I want to see their secret. I want to know their secret so they can share with everyone. So I have Mr. Cecil Robinson to my left, and then Donna Stevenson. So welcome to the show.
Pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you.
This is Quiet Storm. Yes, and he's definitely a quiet, sneaky storm, okay? He's very sneaky. That's why he has that name.
You're quiet.
Yes, yes. And then to the left is Mr. Sensational.
Oh,
How you
I heard him earlier.
You see? So my other co-host, Dr. Love, he's not able to join us tonight. So it'll probably be a bit more quiet with the quiet storm taking
Dr. Love brings the energy.
Definitely. So we were talking about how hard is it working with your significant other? What are the challenges that you face in working together?
I'll give a couple challenges.
Okay.
So there are a lot of rewards,
Mhm.
and the rewards far outnumber the challenges. I guess.
Okay.
And be celebrating 25 years in business if that were the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but some of the challenges on providing a paycheck, for yourselves and your family, and as we've been blessed in these 25 years, we've only had the occasion to not pay ourselves one time, right?
Okay.
But not paying yourself, it means there's 2 checks missing out of the house, not one, right? And so that can be a challenge,
Oh,
right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, that stings.
Mhm.
And so it was just, a deferral in payment, but still,
Yeah.
when everyone else is, getting their direct deposit, and you're needing to get your direct deposit so you meet your mortgage. So those are the kinds of things that, things happen.
Those are the
Okay.
risks.
And those are the risks.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I can comment that, if that happened once or twice in 25 years, that's a blessing.
Yeah,
That's definitely a wonderful blessing. What was it that brought you two together in business?
That's a good question. I was at Bell Labs,
Mm-hmm.
very prestigious laboratory, and I was convinced to leave Bell Labs and work with a local system integrator to be their chief technology officer. And on the first day of work, that whole thing fell through.
Oh, wow.
And so the whole offer changed. I felt uncomfortable with the situation, so I did not take it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was out there. I was unemployed the first time in my life. And I started doing some part-time hacking just to make ends meet and things like that. And one thing led to another, and business started to grow. And I told Donna that I needed her in the company. And that was a big step. Because that meant that both of us would be out there at the same time. And
what Cecil did mention is that when that occurred, we weren't married yet.
Okay.
So we were engaged, and he's telling me, that job I was going to take, well, I'm not going to be there. And so when I told that story to my mom, she was, what? You're about to marry a guy and he's unemployed? And then
I had skills.
I see.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Yeah.
I can see.
Yeah. But you took a leap of faith.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And one of the things I shared. So I grew up, my parents, in a marriage. My dad was an entrepreneur, and so I'm 4th generation.
Right.
So what I saw was that he was able to raise our family and support our family, being an entrepreneur. And it was a challenge. Now, my mom was a school teacher.
Okay.
She was an educator, and not a risk taker. So being married to an entrepreneur for her sake was different. She just wanted him to go back and get a regular job. So needless to say, when Cecil said he wanted to start the business and told me about the situation that had occurred with the systems integrator, I told him, well, you're going to do that for them? You can do it for yourself. So my perspective was a little different. And when my mom posed the question that, hey, you're going to go through this, like, you know how tough it was for your dad and I with the ebbs and flows of his business. And I told her, this is different. This is our dream. And with Cecil now going into business together, that's our dream. You stood on the sidelines watching Dad as opposed to being a participant. And I think that's made a huge difference.
How did that all make you feel when you had you starting up, and it, like I said, it was in a situation where I'm sure there was a lot of anxiety.
Oh yeah.
A lot of unknown, and then you had someone who was supportive, and how did that make you feel? I mean, was that?
I felt ready.
Yeah.
I really felt ready.
Did you need that inspiration, or was it? It was just that extra push.
I needed the inspiration, the extra push helped out a lot. But when I was in the labs, by the time work got to me, all of the deals were done.
Okay.
So I didn't understand that part of the business. I understood how to make the widget. I did not know how to take that widget after it's made and introduce it to people, have people want to buy it, sell it, those types of things. That's the expertise.
That's where she came in.
That's the expertise that she brought up. And I remember calling people. When I make these widgets, I was calling people, and they wouldn't call me back, and I thought it was the rudest thing. I would call her up, I would say, this is so rude, they won't call me back. And she said, just calm down, it's just the way it is. They'll call you back when they're ready to talk to you. And I was like, well, at least they could do is acknowledge my call. I just thought it was the rudest thing, and she brought a little tranquility to the whole thing.
So. That's interesting.
She probably could sell ice to Eskimos.
I say life insurance to a dead man.
Wow. Yeah. So we have a question in the group. Natasha says, how did you let him know he was still important, even though you were the financial lead?
So in a business, whether it's, you're working together, husband and wife, or even just any, business dealings that you're in, everyone brings a certain talent to it. And I couldn't do the business by myself any more than he could do it by himself. So we recognized that our talents complemented one another. And although in the first couple of years, Cecil was the CEO because he founded the company, Early Morning Software. He's the founder. Okay. So I kind of co-founded, and he started in the business full-time 2 years before I did. And once I joined him, I don't remember the title at that time, but I was basically still, focused on really how would we grow the business from a sales perspective. So, I jumped right in. And believe it or not, we would have folks come into our office. I would sit down and talk to them from a sales perspective and engaging as partners. And then they would turn to Cecil and say, okay, now what do you think?
And he said, what she said.
What she said.
Right, yeah.
So it was really interesting, in the very beginning, that those who knew he was my husband would defer to him for business
How did it make you feel?
I just knew he was going to tell them that they needed to talk to me, but at first it was actually insulting. We both are, like I said, duly qualified in our respective careers. He's, master's in computer science. I'm a master's in business. So it was the perfect complement, right? And that's why when technical, elements came up, I deferred to him, and vice versa. And fortunately, I do have a bachelor's degree and had experience in IT, so it gave me the foundation, so I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
But when it comes time to get to the nitty gritty and the engineering and solving the problems and architecting the solution, that's where he comes in. And I had no problems with deferring that, as equally he trusted me and what I knew.
Okay. Here's a
And
tough-
we respected
Yeah.
we respected that level of indirection.
Yeah.
Very seldom would I go over and her part and
Right. So it sounds
direct
like,
or any of that.
and it sounds like you guys are on the same page of where you know your specific roles. But let me ask you this: so you guys are y'all partnering up and closing a deal, right? You're doing all the business stuff. You handle all the, you playing you know, you staying in your lane. You staying in your lane. But then you have a client who, let's say, doesn't respect. You know, the Serena Williams thing is on my mind. Doesn't respect your skills as a negotiator, and he's looking at you and saying, "Okay, what do you think?" Was there ever a situation where your ego, as a woman, and yearning to get respect, endangered the closing of a deal?
I can't think of one specific, but I can tell you in time, I think initially, because Cecil was still the CEO,
Right.
he used to tell me that I didn't know how to follow him. And it wasn't an issue of not knowing how to follow. There are just certain things that you have to do in a business. And it just wasn't his competency. And I expected him to know how to do those things.
Right.
And it was the same thing in the tech world. When it came time to put these solutions together, my expertise went so far, but then when my expertise stopped, his went, 100 yards, past that. So I think because we developed that mutual respect, and that first 2 years, the business was unharmonious. It became harmonious, and he eventually said, "Okay, you need to take the lead because you're right. You're out there. You have to be out there, and therefore you need a title." And therefore, once we changed the title, they didn't have any choice but to deal with me because my name went on those contracts. It was my signature. So they knew then that, oh, she's the CEO and she's the president. Okay, well, yes, that's who we need to talk to.
Right.
And Cecil rightfully became our chief technology officer.
Okay.
So part of that helped to change things as well.
So it was
And
a mutual agreement where he, I can't say empowered. That's not the right word. It was forced where the client had to give you your props.
Absolutely.
Happiest day of my life. I absolutely hate this stuff that she does.
And it's funny because, and listening to your story and looking at the two of you, where you begin, it's a merge. It's kind of like there's no beginning and end. Right. Because the two of you complement each other in your specialties, and you all have mutual respect for one another.
Without
yeah,
that's why we've been so successful.
Yes. Is Natasha still on?
She's still on, and that's what she brought that up. She said the key is respecting each other's specialties.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Because she had a question earlier on a segment. Is it okay we could talk about? She had a situation, and I was trying to find her question. Maybe you could.
She says that they both have degrees. Him more than her.
Husband and wife.
Right. So, but she has the survival instincts and street smarts, which should balance in their opinion, but he still has a problem knowing that she makes more money.
And so he has a problem with her success.
Yeah.
So she was asking.
And they're in business together?
I don't think
they're not in business
okay.
together, but she's probably the more financially secure, and I don't think he looks at it as it's the team's money.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a level of competition. And she was wondering, asked the question, how do you cope with something like that? I mean, it's not exactly y'all, but it's clearly a situation where they're not on the same page, and they're both individually successful, but there's a level of competition where one person sees the other person's success as a threat. And so much where
we do see that in relationships. It's not uncommon. And of course, it's mostly a problem when it's the man who does not make as much money as long as a woman's not making as much, no one has a problem with it. So, that's where I think you have to go back to the foundations of how marriage comes together and your relationship and what it stands for. One of the things that Cecil and I began our relationship with is marital counseling.
Okay.
And that's not something, if anybody's ever getting married, I always recommend. Yes. A lot of folks take it lightly. They go into relationships, they go to live together, they go to do all these things. Right, but that marital counseling, if it's done properly, can expose a whole lot of things about what values you have and what your beliefs are. And if you can find that foundation, then the rest can follow, because one, God leads everything, and He may bless, me one day to have that skill and talent to produce, and who knows when Cecil's might rise to a whole nother level. But if you understand that foundation takes both of you to be successful, then it doesn't matter who's, the breadwinner in it.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I can say, and I caution sometimes women who may make more money may not make their husbands feel, or sometimes can make them feel that money is overpowering. But if they do that, that's why he will feel, different about it. But it, shouldn't be that way.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Absolutely.
So, you made some really, really good points where is a foundation, and that you're absolutely right, because I wholeheartedly agree with you. And sometimes you're right. You also said another thing about therapy. Sometimes therapy can bring out some childhood, some things that we have no idea that we've been dealing with. But what happens when you have oh my gosh, I forgot my point. When you have, and I'm trying to why is it that like in a situation you made a point where the woman starts making more, and she has to make the man feel a certain way. If the man was making more, normally it's not a situation where the man has to make the woman feel. Why is it that you feel as though in this 2018 women have to cater to the man's ego?
So you mentioned a little while ago things in our childhood, right? Now, both Cecil and I also grew up in households where both our parents were there. And so what you see sometimes, and hopefully where the father represents the protector, he's the security for the family. Whether it's financial security, physical security, right? And so because of that, as a woman, sometimes people misplace that if you provide the financial security, then therefore you want to do all the other security. What makes it right?
Very good point.
And so I think that's why sometimes relationships can come out of balance, because they feel, well, but a relationship takes a whole lot more than financial security for it to really work. And so if a man is able to bring all those other things and be secure in himself, then she doesn't have to do those things. She doesn't have to compensate, for that. So it really just depends on, I think, the individuals. I don't know if you have a perspective on that, honey.
No, I agree with you. It's just that since the beginning of time, men were taught and brought up to be providers, and so much so that it becomes woven into our pride and our self-esteem. And when we can't do that, we get a big self-esteem hit. And that starts the problem, because pride gets into the way, and you become a very prideful person, and your esteem gets hurt, all of that, and it causes problems.
And it's a shame, because you have like I remember growing up, and it's like you saying words and it kind of triggering. I was like, okay, what kind of household I grew up in? And my father was blue collar, my mom was a nurse. Okay, so my mom made more money than my dad, but my dad was secure in that. You know, he still was the head of the household. Um, so when I got married, I mean, I moved from my parents' house and got married. I never had that bachelor
Right.
type of life, you know. It was like, I always said, I can't wait till I move out. I could do it. I could come in at any time I want. Never had that. I never had that luxury to come in at any hour or not. You know, I still always have a curfew in my life. So early in our relationship, you know, I realized my wife was a better saver, and so I was like, here's my whole paycheck.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, in 95, and I was telling Jackie, 95% of the household decisions, what bank to use or whatever, and it's like,
Right,
my
right.
wife takes care of all that.
Yeah.
You know, I just give me my, just show me my statements,
Right.
because that's less for me to worry about, because I'm managing other things,
Sure.
you know,
Absolutely.
music or that other thing. So because of my dad, I was totally secure in, you know,
Right.
letting her
Yeah.
be the neck that turns it. I got veto power, you know, if it was, you know, she, a lot of times she was like, oh, I want this, or we want to do this, fine. But if it's something I really feel strongly about, I would say, hey, let's discuss
And
this.
it's back to, like you said, the mutual respect.
Yeah.
Right.
That you have in a relationship and creating that foundation.
Right, because there's natural talents that will amongst, you know, all of us, and if her natural talent is money, finances, and stuff like that, go ahead, because it's not my strong suit.
This is the chief
Yes.
negotiator in charge of
Yeah.
negotiations. I usually do all of the research on the product. I narrow it down. I say, we're going to get this.
Yeah.
And I say, go get him. Go get him.
Yeah.
And she goes out there.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
And-
Whether it's
and-
buying a car,
I
Yeah.
can't
a
sit up
boat,
there.
or things for
Girl.
our business. That's me.
Okay.
My wife negotiated all our car purchases, and I'm sitting there like, and they're looking at me like I'm telling her what to do, and I'm like, and she was like, okay, when I nudge you, we're gonna walk out. I'm like, I want that car. She was like, just follow me.
Yeah.
We gonna
I
get
don't
it.
even,
We
I
gonna
don't
get
even
it.
go now.
And you need that
I
balance
don't
in your
even know.
Those
relationship.
natural talents that
Yeah.
that you allow each other, you know, and like us. And so if there's ever a situation where there's an issue with a credit card, or there's negotiating, she's a negotiator. She's in sales. That's what she does. That's her natural talent.
Sure.
You know, it don't take much to browbeat me. I'm like, okay, I give up, whatever. I don't care. I just want to
Yeah.
go home. Let me just provide the product. You know what I mean? That's me. I just want to give you, you know, and it's funny because, like I said, it's a situation where you recognize each other's natural talents, and you support it. And it's great that you guys are on the same team. And here's a situation where, of course, you guys are successful.
Yeah. So, and I'll give you another example of why it shouldn't be of, you know, who makes more money versus,
Right.
or you're in competition. Because if you're in the same relationship, you're on the same team.
And that was one of the statements I brought up earlier. It should always be about the team.
It's about the
If
team.
you make it about the team, is there any room for ego?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where you have to realize that, yeah, everyone's bringing something to
To the table.
To the team.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't, you know, we watched the Ravens play yesterday, and I don't care, you know, what anybody says, Flacco's strong arm was great yesterday, but if there was nobody out there catching the ball, you know, nobody scores touchdowns, right?
Right.
It's no different in a marriage. And so, you know, once you realize that you came together as a team, and again, if hopefully God bless that marriage, it'll be phenomenal when you blend your talents and your,
Of course.
you know, your expertise. And I think the beauty of what I can tell you I've gotten out of being in business with Cecil is that it's impeccable trust. I know when I go out and sell something, that I know that when I bring it back, I have the talent to get it done.
Yes.
I've done that for 25 years. So you talk about trust. Absolutely, it's impeccable, and I think the same thing with me. I may not always make the right decision, but he knows I've done my best to make the best decision I could make with the information that I have and the talents that I have.
You're pretty smart.
This is amazing because we don't really often see a Black power couple, you know. So having you all here on the show, I get to put you all on display and let people see that it can be done. It can be done without ego.
She's doing all of it. I'm just along for the ride.
Donna's the feisty one.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm the one who gets out there, and I have a God-fearing woman, and I have impeccable belief in our capabilities, and that allows me to. You're absolutely right. Go out and take on the world, take on challenges, and God provisions things for us, and He gives me visions. He gives Cecil's vision. It was his vision to start the business. Right. It was my vision to bring a product forward, and I couldn't have brought that product, for as much vision as I had, but I still needed every bit of his talent,
of course,
and still do every day to produce it, right? Because he's an engineer.
Right. Wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got this idea.
That's right.
Like, well, you think sometimes you get that tap in 3 o'clock in the morning. You think it's happy hour. She breaks out her notebook. You're like, really?
Well, it is happy hour on the business side. Yeah.
Hey.
I love that.
Look, ain't nothing more sexy than making money.
That's when the best
said,
ideas come into focus, you know?
I said, my wife, don't buy no negligee. Come in the bedroom with it. Is that my car note you just paid? With profit, and you didn't have to use the joint account? Is that the mortgage slip?
Yeah.
But can I read Natasha
Oh, you got it. Okay.
made a comment, couple comments. She says, trust. When he knows you are doing your best. That is awesome. So you never know who you inspire. And she also said, I love that Cecil is not afraid to let you bask in your talents. This is the same young lady who was having we're on the same page. So it is and I think the biggest thing you guys you're going back to is trust, synergy, compatibility. Has it always been that way? From day one, or is it something that y'all had to, or like, for instance, I'm a manager at work, and when I have people, I'm big on development, and I'm big on empowering people. And let's say it was this one particular, it's always a situation where I always tell them, I would give them a task, I would trust but verify. And this one particular very, very smart person, she said, you always check up after me. I said, well, yeah, there's going to be a point where I'm going to pass that point, and I'll let you know, right? So one day it just hit me. She every question that I would ask, she proactively said, nope, I checked this, and I checked this, and I checked, so what about, no, I checked this. So I went back to my office and sat back, and I said, I sent her an email and said, you reached that point. So was there ever that point where y'all kind of had to feel you had to, let's say, God forbid, you had to question whether or not he could deliver on your promises, and vice versa, where she was over-promising, or so, was there ever a situation where y'all, I see, was there that time back in 1997?
No, you gonna say last week.
Last week? Was there ever a time where, when did that happen? Like, or I can't say, I guess, okay, this is my question, I guess. What is the, when did you got to that position where you say, you know what, you got it, babe, I trust whatever you say, and vice versa? Give me an example of that.
Looks like Cecil has something on the tip of his tongue.
No, I was about to say that we always respected each other's abilities. So when we check one another's work, it's from a standpoint of editing, more so than let me see what you wrote down because I don't believe that you did it correctly.
So it's in the spirit.
Right. So Donna takes care of all of the proposal work and things like that. So when I read a proposal, I'm reading the proposal in preparation for us to go into orals or something like that. And when we don't have orals, when we have to present in front of our customer, very seldom would I even read the proposal. Sometimes I don't even find out about the deal until we've won it and it's being turned over to engineering to complete. Wow. So it's from that standpoint. It's the same with Donna. When we finish the solution and we're ready to deliver it to a client, sometimes the first time she sees it is when the client sees it.
Yeah. In fact, I get lucky. Every now and then I'll walk in, to the engineering room and I'm like, oh, they're demoing something. And I get to, sit in and he'll announce to the engineers, oh, the CEO just arrived and, and they'll actually show me some of their cool stuff that they've developed. Yeah. And, give them my feedback.
And I'm in awe when I read the opportunities that I have to read her proposal. I read it and I'm in awe when I read it. I'm like, wow, this is such organized thought and well written, and it just laid out. And I sit back. I'm a fan. Okay, I'm a fan. That's awesome. I'm like, wow, this is really nice what you did here. So from that standpoint, I'm not checking up. I'm not checking up on her work. Right. Every milestone that she reaches was set by her. I very seldom say I want us to make this much money next year. She comes up and she says, I think I'm gonna do this much, and I say, okay, that's good. That's good.
That's amazing.
And that's what we roll with.
See, that's from them playing spades together. He was like, oh, I go bored, and
they're giving each other the eyes. It's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to play them in spades,
right?
No way.
So what advice would you give to couples just starting out in marriage and possibly thinking of going into business with one another?
They should learn each other first, and they should spend some time being married.
Okay.
And enjoying their marriage without the burden of entrepreneurship on it, because entrepreneurship adds a burden.
Yeah.
Donna and I are together 16 hours a day. So that's a burden, right? And so we each have to have our own decompression time. We decompress together, and then she will go off and further decompress, and I will go by myself and decompress. You need to learn how to do that, right? Before the burden of business is upon you. Is really key that you learn, especially when you can sort of sense when the other needs decompression.
Interesting.
As well. So, and you can't. I really believe that we were blessed and we were lucky to get through that part, right? Understanding one another while we were in business, and it's probably because early on we weren't making much money, so we didn't have much interfering in the early parts of our marriage. But as we started making more money, more demands came on us. So I would recommend that they enjoy the early parts of their marriage and understanding and finding out new things about their partner.
Without a doubt. So
I don't even know why I asked. They always on the same page.
Yeah, and Natasha says he is truly a fan of his wife, and she is a fan of his, and it shows. It's you all can complete each other's thoughts. And so I know you were getting ready to say something, Donna, so I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Well, So I think the point Cecil makes in terms of understanding who you are. So I will acknowledge, first of all, we got married later in life than many couples
Okay.
that we know.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in our early 30s. So by that time, I had done a lot
Okay.
of what Donna wanted without compromise. So if I wanted to travel to Paris, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I made my own money, and I had that opportunity to have that freedom to make a lot of decisions. So by the time we got married, we were at a point of wanting to be married. And we
Okay.
understood, the purpose of our relationship. But I will also tell you, we didn't begin our relationship thinking, oh, we're going to go into business. Because like I said,
Okay.
he was working for Bell Labs. So when we got engaged, so that's who I expected I was marrying, right? Not the entrepreneur.
She wanted a sugar daddy.
That's right.
She wanted a sugar
I
daddy.
knew he was making more money than me. He had a house, I had a house. I was like, we're going to bring this together and
Yeah.
stop, right? Well, when, he elected to work for the systems integrator, again, I was fully supportive. And then when it didn't work out, again, because of the foundation that we understood, and I cannot underemphasize or overemphasize, when you have a foundation that's built on God, and it's rock solid.
Yeah.
So it can't fail.
Mm-hmm.
So your whole perspective of your marriage is totally different, right? I think the other aspect of it, just like Cecil says, to kind of wait a little while,
Right.
and have your marriage gel, because you need that trust,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm in sales, and oftentimes 50% of the time in a month, I'm actually out of the state.
Okay.
And so if I were dealing with a jealous husband, this wouldn't work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in order to get business, I have to be engaged.
You have to be,
I have
of
to
course,
be on the road. I
of
have
course.
to be networking, and I'm around a lot of men. I'm in IT,
Yeah.
right? So most of the people that I deal with, in a lot of cases, who are making business decisions, those are the people I have to deal with.
Okay.
So if I had a husband who I had not built a foundation of trust with, then I might not be as successful, because it would bring other aspects. And the same thing, I'm away from home. I just said 50% of the time. What if I didn't have that foundation with him?
Right.
And so I leave, and then the mouse goes out to play. So I think the other thing, and Cecil talked about, is again creating that foundation. 2 years into our marriages, when we had our first child. And we have two of the most beautiful kids. Those are God's gifts to us. And that's the way we treated them. So we always understood how to even bring them up into our relationship, the values we wanted to teach them, and have them see us, who we are as parents. And again, he and I are both blessed to have had, both parents in our homes for a long time. I would say eventually my parents separated, but they were still the best of friends.
Right.
To their death. So I think that's really significant.
It makes a difference.
We've been in meetings. Excuse me. We've been in meetings, and she goes by Stevenson, and I go by Robinson, where guys are hitting on her, and I'm sitting there.
And you're sitting there.
I'm sitting there. I'm listening to him shoot his game. I'm like, that's so weak, man. I'm like, it's gonna take a whole lot more to get this one.
Right? Yeah. Oh my God! Wow.
I could so relate to that.
Yeah.
They be like, they'll look at y'all. How you manage that? I'm like, I make her laugh. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple comments. You guys are such an inspiration. Okay, it says yes. Going back to the editing. Yes, Cecil, editing. I love that. Not change, not check her, but edit her thoughts. What a blessing you are to each other. You all bless each other. So beautiful. Foundation. I don't understand what this means. Jesus, I may not have a foundation after 20 years. Natasha?
Well, that's what she's saying, that she doesn't. It's like, oh my God, I thought I had a foundation, but I see that I don't. That's what she's saying.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think in listening to the two of you talk, it's kind of a reality check, you know, because we talked about her and her husband and that she has to hide some of her income because she makes more.
And
Yeah,
not
that's
good.
not.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have to hide that because he can help her spend that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's great to have you on here simply because you give inspiration to maybe a younger married couple that have challenges with maybe the wife being the breadwinner and not looking at it like this is all coming to the same household. This is coming to the team. It's coming to the
You know
team.
what?
Yeah.
Up until about 3 years ago, I didn't even know how much I made. Donna told me once I was complaining about something, and she said, "Oh, I think the gas card or something." And she said, "The company pays for your gas, and your total compensation is this." And I was like, "Oh."
Well, I'm doing all right, right? That's what.
Sometimes my wife told me when I got a raise.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's funny that you because I do that too. I say, oh, you know, you got an increase on it. No, I didn't know that. Yeah, you got an increase. You know, so yeah.
Oh, your bonus was higher this year.
And
Yeah.
after almost 25 years of marriage, we still have just one joint account. We operate off this. And I talk to some of my friends sometimes, and they have these 3-4 accounts. And this is her account, this is his account. They transfer this. And I said, no, we just have one account, and we have an understanding of how we manage that account. And it just works.
Let's say you got to buy her a gift. You take it from the joint account or...
I'm just slick about that.
What's your secret, Cecil?
She don't even know.
That Michael Kors bag, okay.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a clue.
Take it out of petty cash from
Yeah,
here.
It's so funny because so early on we had to make some decisions around the finances and who was going to run the finances in the business in the house. So of course, because I had the business background, I took the business. It was just natural. It was just too much for me to have to deal with that at home. So I relinquished everything. I don't even know, when if BGE got paid.
No clue.
I know the mortgage is automatically withdrawn, those kinds of things, but I really don't manage that account. And I just, when I need to do my personal things, I need to get my mani-pedis and all those, I just go shopping, and I'll double check to make sure, that the money's there, and and that's the way it's already. Because I don't handle any of that aspect of our business. I manage the finances within our business.
But that's trust. That goes back to trust. Yeah.
One of the things you talked about, spending a lot of time. He says 16 hours. People would always ask, "How long y'all been married?" And we would always tell them it's 3 years, 3 times the number of years. Because we literally, we're working in the same business. Right. Sleeping in the same room.
If you do about the hours.
Yeah.
So, next May, it'll be 25 years. We just celebrated 25 years in business in August. And so, to say, here we go, 25 years, well, how do we do that? And, we say we work hard, but we like to play hard. And so early on, about 20 years ago, we bought a boat.
Okay.
And that's another team sport, right?
Who drives the boat?
We
Who's
both
the
can
captain?
now.
Okay.
No, both of y'all can't be the captain. Who the
Not
captain?
at the same time.
One gotta be skipper, one gotta be Gilligan.
Right, exactly. Okay.
You know what? Y'all too sharp.
In fact,
for me.
the last time we went out, she captained the boat and I did the lines. Yeah, and let me tell you, I was really on the down low, trying to do something by example.
Okay.
Because when we're boating and she's doing the line and we get somewhere, she would always ask me, which side of the boat are you going to dock on? And it frustrates me to no end, right? Because I should have the choice. When I'm pulling up to a pier, I should have the choice of which side I dock the boat on. So I just said to myself, this time I'm going to do them in a way, and I hope she's watching, to show her how I would like them done. So I didn't fuss about it. I just said I'm going to do this and
Okay.
try to do it by example. And so before she pulled out of the marina, I had all of the lines set on the
Wow.
boat. And I'm sitting there looking up at her, hoping that she
I paid
noticed.
attention.
And then when we pull up to this pier, it was very busy. There's stuff going on. And if I had only done one side, we would have been in trouble because we would
Okay.
not have been prepared to pull. And it's because all of the lines were already set then.
Wow.
So I just tried to do
And
this
see,
thing.
we just
by
have
example.
different perspectives. See, I would have, if he hadn't said it, I would have made the decision, and I would have said, okay, I can see what I'm going to do. Set the lines on the port side, and I'll just wait until he was prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So, my perspective, I valued everything. I watched him. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. He's putting lines on both sides. It's more work.
Right.
And I'm a very efficient person,
Mhm.
right? So I'm gonna do what's necessary. And we're like this in
I'll say
business
that.
too, right? We're like this in business because
I'm a grinder, and she's a baptism by fire type person. So when I get a meeting
Is that why we
request,
connected?
when I get a meeting request, it'll say 12th Street Northwest, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, I need to prepare for this meeting. I'm going to do research.
Right.
And she just shows up, bam, and she's up. And I told her when we get in orals in front of customers and stuff, and she goes and starts doing her thing, I sit back and I marvel at it. I'm like, wow, she's smooth. She's just doing her thing and all of that. And when I get up and I start speaking, she's thinking the same thing, but mine came with a lot of preparation to do that. So I take a little bit off of mine because she's just able to snap up there and do the stuff.
So when you're watching her in action, I know that you're proud, but are you also thinking, we're going to have an amazing happy hour?
Yeah, I do. Or I think we had a great happy hour just 12 hours ago.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Looking around the room, I'll be like, y'all just don't know.
Right.
There's more to this.
I love it.
Work hard
Yeah.
and play hard.
That's exactly it. So tell us about the company overall, Prism Compliance.
sure. So let's start from the beginning. So
She
That's-
gets down. She's
yeah.
ready.
So the
She was
company
ready.
is actually early morning software.
Okay.
And we produce a software product. We're a software manufacturer, just like Microsoft,
Right.
just like Oracle. They produce software, so we have engineers, and we design it and produce our product called PrismCompliance.com, and it's a web-based product, software as a service, that our customers throughout the country utilize to manage their diversity and inclusion programs. So organizations like the City of Baltimore, the City of Atlanta, San Diego, we have Housing Authority, other transportation clients. They utilize our technology to track every contract that they let,
Wow.
and then they determine whether or not any of those primes are woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned, small business, local business owners. And then on larger projects, they'll want to know, okay, if I awarded a large contract to early morning software, did they in turn subcontract to any small businesses,
Okay.
minority-owned businesses? So they're basically trying to track the inclusion. And the whole notion of what we're doing is making sure that economic development occurs in all communities where it should take place. In addition, our software will help an organization track job creation.
Okay.
And so many of our customers also utilize our technology to, if they award a contract to you, and as a result, you start hiring locally, they want to know what's the benefit and how many people actually got hired. So they want to tell that story. How did you impact the tax base? And how did the mayor, go about creating jobs? So that's what our technology, PrismCompliance.com, does.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's very rewarding to do this work because we realize, we're transforming the very lives and creating opportunity for business owners just like ourselves. When we started out, where there were programs around the minority business program or the woman-owned business programs, and they weren't monitored as diligently.
Okay.
And so oftentimes, a prime contractor could say, yes, I'm going to utilize early warning software, and then decide to self-perform. And where we're thinking we helped them win this business, and the contract's over, and they decided, no, we didn't use you. So we were upside down in the opportunity from the very beginning, because we spent our marketing dollars to help them win the proposals, win the work, and then not see, $1 from it. So those are the kinds of things that our system will give alerts and expose our customers to when those types of scenarios can occur. And so that they don't reach the end of a contract and realize that the woman-owned and disadvantaged businesses did not actually get a chance to, reap the rewards of their participation.
Okay.
I could have said all of that. It's just taken a little longer.
We have developed, a set of best practices, and I'm recognized as an expert in this field of diversity and inclusion. So at the end of the month, we'll actually host our customers.
Okay.
And they'll come into Baltimore. We have a diversity inclusion conference called Compass. And this year we've expanded to not just talk about supplier diversity and workforce inclusion, but we're going beyond that to help customers realize the economic impact that they are engaging. We have partners like Rutgers University that have asked us to partner with them and bring some of their technology forward to some of our customers. So that was one of our proudest moments. Is when a university with the stature and reputation of Rutgers says, hey, will you partner with us? That, the question was absolutely yes. So we're bringing some phenomenal technology to the market and expanding our platform in the next 6 months.
That's amazing. You were also voted in the top 100 of Maryland influential.
Top 100
Yes.
That was
Top
great
one.
honor.
Top one.
See, a funny story, and he probably can tell it better. My best friend was also recognized as one of Maryland's top 100 women in the same year. Last
wow.
Year. So what did her husband say? You all had a conversation.
Yeah, we were arguing about who was ranked.
Who was the best?
Who was ranked higher.
But that was, my
She was
best
also
friend
recognized.
since high school.
She was also recognized as Howard County NAACP Woman of the Year. So
It's been a phenomenal year for us. And,
That's good.
it's
That's
gonna continue
amazing.
to be. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, I met Donna on Be More News broadcast.
Gotcha.
And after the show was over, we were out there taking pictures. But what stood out about Donna, she's just that everyday person that you run into. I always, in talking to her, I felt like that she wants to make a difference in her community, and she's open to helping everyone. That's what I took from it. And I said, I would like to get you on the show. But she was just, and listening to her talk, she was so amazing. I felt like you didn't get to actually get your point across on the show, but I realized that's typical of him. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Okay.
I had not listened to Donnie's show in a while.
and I was texting her. I was like, "Where is this going?"
He doesn't allow you the opportunity to talk. I feel like when you go on there, you may have an idea in mind and what you're going to communicate, but by the time he starts on his rampage, it's like, okay,
It's a monologue. Huh?
Yeah, it wasn't what you expected, was it? Yeah, the opportunity was great, but you really didn't get a chance to articulate what you wanted people to know about what you did in the community.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfortunate. Yeah.
And the main thing, one of the main points that I wanted to bring out was, as a community, and I'm speaking now of the African American community. So oftentimes, our leaders and our forefathers have put forth their lives for civil rights,
Right.
to create policy that now many other communities benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a lot of ways, we've gotten away from many of the values that our forefathers stood for, and that's support for one another.
Right.
And support for one another does not mean that we don't support others.
Of
we
course.
do that in an awesome fashion,
Mm-hmm.
without even thinking. It's unconscious in the way that we support others. I merely wanted to express that we need to be more conscientious about supporting each other, so that our communities are just as strong. We can have sustainability, but it's created by our community,
Mm-hmm.
and not where we're so dependent on other communities for our sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely
And
right.
that's where I was one of the points.
You was trying to point that out.
Make-
Exactly.
No,
But I
It
couldn't
wouldn't,
make that
right,
point.
yeah, because I think I even asked you a question on how can we better leverage ourselves in the community, and just as you were about to answer it, you were cut off. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Howard County. Are you familiar with Howard County? Do you live out there?
I do live in Howard County now. I grew up in Baltimore City, Western High School graduate, and Cecil's actually from Chicago.
Okay.
And
Southside.
So sorry.
You had to throw that up.
So you like the White Sox?
and the Bears.
Oh
But
goodness.
he is a true Ravens fan.
You converted him?
Unless they're playing the Bears.
Well, that's,
Okay, yeah.
then we have a bipolar home with that. But absolutely, working together and in this capacity has allowed us to build that camaraderie.
Now I live in Howard County as well.
You do?
I'm in Ellicott City over there by Turf Valley,
I'm not far from you, 3 miles.
Centennial Lane.
Okay.
So you familiar with the huge Korean?
Oh, absolutely. You go out there now, you don't even know the name of the stores.
Absolutely. They have banks.
Mm.
They have businesses from tutoring to violence.
Totally
to
self-sustaining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it's so important that, like for instance, I have a 10-year-old boy, and it's a great school system. It's we love it out there, and then my wife is from Columbia, so I moved from Baltimore out there, but it was I think I don't know where I got the information, but they were talking about how the dollar, how long the dollar stays in our community.
And what
Korean
information did you
Korean community, it was like 27 days, something like that. Spanish community, it kind of goes like more like 15. Black community, 45 minutes.
You're
I
absolutely
believe that, yeah.
45 minutes. And it got to a point, and now I'm always big on, I love it out there because there's a lot of local businesses. I was like, look, I'm going to just support local business. Forget all these franchise. But most of the local businesses are like Korean-owned coffee shops here and there. And I hate because, I support them. But it's so hard to find, black-owned. And then when I do see a black-owned business, I go out my way to support it. But here's my point of this. My son, he has, his best friend. One of his best friends is Asian. Well, three of his good friends are Asian. One's white. He's pretty much the only African American. But that Asian kid in that community, if they go around, they see a lawyer, they see an Asian banker, Korean banker, they see a Korean business owners, where my son does not see that.
Sure.
You see what I mean? On a daily basis, where it's like a situation where it goes into their subconscious.
Right.
My kids don't see that, but they develop, and like I said, it's through blood, sweat, and tears. They develop they named part of Route 40 Korean Way.
Wow.
They, and they getting representation in they're doing everything that we used to do.
Right.
Let me tell you something else that galvanizes our spirits, our kindred spirits, and that's the lack of what you were just saying. When we go into market our product and we receive the afflictions that we get from us, it galvanizes us. We just become more formidable against that. And sometimes we can be the most coldest people to one another. And it is so disheartening to go into these organizations to do business and to see us. And sometimes when we see us, we're like, oh shoot, we're not going to get this. Because we just know that sometimes we just don't have the right mindset. And it's the same 45 minutes. If that dollar stays there 45 minutes, and I come in and you have to make a decision whether you're going to do business with me, and you have that same mentality, it's the same mentality with a title now. And it's disheartening. And on that plane ride back, and sometimes we just hold each other's hands and we just know that we just have to
Persevere.
we just have to persevere. And God forbid both of us feel the same about giving up at the same time. And I would be lying to you if I would tell you that we did not think about just throwing in the towel and said, I'm done. But it never happened at the same time.
Okay, that's
I think that if it ever happened at the same time, it wouldn't take us very long to do it. But normally one of us is very clear-headed and we're like, okay. And the other one is like, I'm done. This is just crazy. And we have so many stories over. This is probably you could do a monthly show on us coming in and telling you about the stuff that has happened over the 25 years that we had to deal with, and the majority coming from us.
Well, I think we should.
Sounds like a great idea. That definitely sounds like a great idea.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs come through here, and there's a lot of I'm to this. You know, whether it's one person you reach or it's 100 people, you never know who you inspire.
That's absolutely.
You know, you never. It might be that one person. Because, like I said, I told that story because it's really disturbing to me. Because here I am going out of my way. For years, I'm out there, and I'm like, my mindset was like, support local businesses. My wife's Ethiopian. This Ethiopian guy bought one of the Korean coffee shops, which is and he's a taxi driver, lives in Alexandria, Virginia, drives all the way up to Snow Cafe. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Snow Cafe on Frederick Road to open up this coffee shop first thing in the morning. And there's been times where I used to go there and I used to go work remotely and use their Wi-Fi and stuff like that. But that's it, you know. So it's like my kids are more. I lead by example, that kind of thing, so they can see the same way I saw my dad, as humble as he is, do his thing and secure, and letting my mom being the neck that turns the head, empowering him. I've sort of taken the same mold, and I see my son kind of going that same temperament as I am, but I just wish there was more examples of successful businesses or successful people of color that I could show him on a daily basis, of just going to a bank, not even I can't say a bank because there's Harbor Bank, but just going they have a whole shopping center.
And so let me help you understand the importance of that, right? So again, we live in our same neighborhood. I literally, we probably live about 3 miles, max 5 miles from one another. And we raised our kids, that's why we moved to Howard County, to have them go to the best public high school, in the state of Maryland. And they've done well. They did, well. But when you go to those stores, who do they employ? They employ themselves.
Sure
so where we have kids that need jobs, you and I have kids that need jobs. Sometimes they can't get jobs in those establishments because a lot, whether it's Dunkin' Donuts, which you see owned by many Asians,
And
they're hiring their own. I mean, I can't blame them, right? And the same thing, you go into some of the Korean. So you need that diversity, and this is back to what we do every day. That's why you need that diversity in the ownership, who leases those stores, so that some of them are black owned because there are black kids in that community that need jobs, and they need people who are willing to give them those opportunities. So just like you said, that they do have those role models. And so without that, you're right, they don't grow up seeing themselves as entrepreneurs. Now my kids do. I have a friend who runs the airport. They think he owns the airport. I mean we had to educate them, but because they see us the way we operate, they just assume everybody else, dad and mom, wherever they work, they must own it.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's what you want your kids to grow up believing, because that means that they will believe that they can create their own wealth as well. And we don't have that as the role models that we had in the past. So we have to create it for them.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
Columbia, well, I can't say Columbia. Howard Camp, parts of is real good with that, and then there's some parts that are really right. They you go some parts, you'd be like, whoa, did we just take a step back? As a Jim Crow,
We've been into places where after we demoed our software, they asked us who created it. They refused to believe that we created this software. They thought we were in their office to resell it. So they're asking us, who developed this for you? And we said we did. And they say, seriously, who developed it for you?
And the idea that they would actually say seriously, as if you don't have the brain power to be able to create something.
I've had people, I've been in meetings where the executive asked me if I have black engineers who work for me.
Wow.
I mean, boldly. That's how bold, some of the meetings and conversations that I've had. Being in a technology business, again, you don't find many of us.
True.
Even still today,
Still
in
today.
technology, and especially women in technology and succeeding. So it's a challenge.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And but we have developed some of the best technology that
It's
is in
tough.
use for national security. We've developed technology for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Wow.
Technologies for probably at one time 50% of the agencies in the state of Maryland were using technology that we developed to specs. We would go and literally ask them, "What's your problem?" and we would engineer the solution and create that software that then ultimately ran their business. We took the lottery's web presence. When we started working with them, we were their internet consultant for 10 years.
Okay.
And when we first started working with them, they were getting about 2,000 hits a month. And with the technology we introduced to them it grew to 2 million
Yes.
hits a month, because we created, Keno on the web. We created the live stream of the games that are being drawn on TV. We would stream that right to the web. So that's the kind of technology, and that's the kind of research and development our small firm was able to produce. And that it's a testament to Cecil as our chief technology officer, and the background that he came from Bell Labs and Ford Aerospace with.
I resemble that statement.
You sure did. Indeed.
So it's really interesting, because by the time we finish implementing our product for a customer, about 30%, maybe 40% of their financial system data is in our system. So when we show up, there's a reckoning that they have to reconcile in their head, because traditionally we could sell them hardware, right? We can unbox computers and put them together. We can install, we can network the computers. But now you're talking about taking 30% of my financial data, not only off site, but when you get it off site, you're going to manage it for me. And it's out of my control. And at the same time, I have never seen a company like yours come in and discuss that with me. So I'm very uncomfortable right now from the standpoint. I thought you were here to network my computers or sell me some PCs or something,
Or
but
sell
you're
you someone else's software.
sell someone else's software. But now I'm not accustomed to getting that type of service from companies with your historic background. So this is going to take a minute. And so now you look around the room and there are people like you in that room, and you're like, you could jump in now and help.
Right. Yeah.
Help me.
Wow.
And you know, sometimes it's disheartening. And Donna and I, we talk about it and we're like, wow, but we gotta keep going, because the person that's behind us that also want to engineer software and deliver solutions, maybe we can pave the way or flatten.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Flatten the water for them so that it becomes
In the same way that
easier.
Our parents, did for us.
Right.
Right. The fact that I was able to see
Thanks.
an entrepreneur and a parent, my kids have seen that, and their friends have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly believe that perhaps, I don't know what God has for us. He certainly has done more in our lives than we ever anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
We went from being a regional professional services company to now a national software manufacturer. Who knew?
Right.
And that's why I encourage people to become entrepreneurs. Don't worry about having, in MBA school, they told me, okay, when you get ready to start a business, you need $250,000 to start your business. Forget about it. We would never start that.
Right. Exactly.
Cecil and I scraped together our money, $5,000. We've employed hundreds of people, right? And our dreams. It's our dreams that fuel us, and God will give you the rest.
Yes.
Right? And so He put it on our heart, and each time, we've needed something, He's given us a little more because He's entrusted us, and we've done well with, what He's given us, and He gives us more, because we're, stewards of it.
Of course.
And so
It's hard work though.
Oh no,
Yeah,
but by all means.
we've missed a lot of birthdays. We've missed a lot of funerals. We missed a lot of weddings.
Yeah.
Right? We missed a lot of parties. Things like that.
But we've had some. I have no regrets.
Right.
When I think about our lives, I'm just grateful, eternally grateful for the things that we have done. And like I said, when you look at our humble beginnings, and He has a theme song that started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
You got a theme song, Cecil?
Every hero travels with that. You travel with your own theme song.
But when you start from such humble beginnings, right? You grow up in. No one has any expectation that you will leave Chicago, right? Let alone get out of the neighborhood that you grew up in, and you do that, and you excel in ways that people just would not have tagged you to.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
We've grown our wealth in ways we could not have imagined the first day we laid eyes on one another.
Yeah.
And,
I knew it.
well,
You saw it all along.
I said she paid.
I grew up on the humble streets of Baltimore, and granted, a modest, low middle income, family, but certainly not the wealth, that we've been able to develop together and grow together. So, and that's why it's imperative that you said, like your kids, they have to have examples.
Of course.
Because that's the only way that's the game changer in our community, is building wealth in our community. So it's essential. But we work hard, and while we've missed some events, we value family, so we try not to miss. Many of those, we do things together, like, we took up cycling,
Okay.
last year, and I've been inspired by that. I'm going to actually on October 6th, weather permitting, ride 100 miles in the Seagull Century. And that's just one of these most recent things. We took a boating 20-some years ago, to do that together. And we watched football together. What else? We're both in sororities, fraternities.
Okay.
So we do Greek stuff together.
So you find things to build on that bond with one another.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You do
Travel
have,
together.
yeah. And that's amazing. I think that when you are building something, the price you pay is not being able to participate in a lot of things in the beginning. My grandfather was president of one of the largest unions in Miami. And as a result, he didn't have time to go to every football game that my dad participated in, because I think his focus was building the family security, so you see certain things growing up, and then I look at my son who's now 30, and he's in an industry where a lot of us are being blocked from making money because he's all things, he has a master certification in all things cannabis. And so it's hard for us to break the door down in that industry. Like, I didn't even know he was going to school for that. But what he always said is, Ma, you always encourage me to have my own. He watches what I do. I'm always like, why am I going to spend 8 hours a day making someone else rich when I can put that same time into what I want to do? And sometimes you say things to your kids and you don't think they're listening. But he was listening, yeah. And that's kind of like a proud moment for me as a parent. But what I would like to see more of in our community is more unity, because we need more jobs. We need more of us to have businesses to employ us.
Sure.
So how can we go about making that change?
And it's one of those things that, so remember that show we talked about, we were on together?
Yeah.
One of the points that I tried to get in, and back to this whole point of supporting each other. So we're going to start an initiative. We're actually starting two, but one that I want to start next year is the whole concept of Black Friday. It's changing the meaning of it for us to support, from supporting, big business the day after Thanksgiving, to supporting our everyday business every Friday, and being conscientious about spending, in our community. And you'd be surprised what a whirlwind effect that we could just have. Think about it. We'll get beyond that 45 seconds or 45 minutes of dollar stand in the community. So that's one of the things. One of the other things that Cecil and I are doing is starting a STEM academy, a science, technology, engineering, math academy. That's one of the ways that we're going to leave our legacy in Baltimore.
Where are you guys setting up?
It will actually be housed in our building.
Okay.
In downtown. So our office is located half a block north of City Hall, right on Holiday Street. And so we'll start this academy. It would be for middle school students to come in. The program is geared for them to learn how to build computers. And one of the ways I'll get my son involved.
Okay,
He's
that's
a
wonderful.
senior in high school, and he will actually teach the kids how to build their own computer. He builds computers for my business.
Oh, wow.
Today, and so he'll teach them part by part how to put a computer together, and then from there they'll learn how to apply software to it, how to network the computers, and then ultimately we're going to teach them how to code.
I'm in.
You're in.
I have a kid, very precocious kid. Was in 5th grade, and ever since he was in the 2nd grade, he said he wanted to be an engineer.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. That's how this works.
And and he's I don't know, toot my horn, but I am proud of son. I mean, he's in 5th grade reading at like 7th grade level.
Oh, I believe. I
And
believe.
he's just all things. And we've been, Howard County, is a great. My wife is all in all these resources about programs here. We sending them to math camp. We sending them to. We we were like one of the first families to go into the first tee, which was back in the day.
Oh, sure, golf.
Tiger Woods. You
Okay.
know, my oldest daughter. You know, we put her in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they had some really great resources, and we've been looking for like you know, we did like Apple Camp and stuff,
Sure.
and at the moment, but I am totally pleased. Want to get your own information, and whenever he is eligible, he's going to be the first little kid.
Right. Absolutely. I'm sorry, my hot flashes is like really kicking in.
My phone died. We
It's
having
because of
comments on
the
it?
hotness from the hot flash. That's why I died. So Natasha says he is doing right. They lit us in jail for what is now a commercial industry. Oh no, she said they put us in jail for what is now a commercial industry. When you visit different places and you are marketing your product, even though they're looking at you in a way of this can't be yours, it has to feel empowering to know that yes, it's us. And to see the look on their faces when they realize, oh, this is their company. That has to feel good.
It does, but
Yeah.
not as good as the sale.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I was
true,
thinking.
yeah.
It doesn't feel
Yeah.
as good as the sale.
Mm-hmm.
Walking out of there with the sale,
Okay.
and sometimes we're the only ones that we have to talk to about it because
Yeah.
our friends, our family, they're in corporate America, and they just don't. Sometimes they just don't understand.
That's true. Yeah.
One of my best friends will just say, "Well, you just need to call them up and just call for a meeting." I say it doesn't work like that. I just can't call a CTO and say I
Yeah.
want to meet with you. They, you know, we're peons to them. Now if I was Oracle or one of these other companies,
Right.
I can do that, but I can't do that. And sometimes things for them is so easy because they're with the Fortune 500 companies and
Right.
things like that, and sometimes they can't put themselves in my position.
So what do you think? What do you think the biggest, aside from the obvious, what do you think the biggest setback is? Is it to think that in the back of their mind they can't fathom that you can deliver on such an amazing product that you're selling?
It's well for the minority or the African American that's in that position and make the decision. They're really in a very interesting position because if they buy it, then someone is telling them they bought it because we're black,
Okay.
right? And then
But no other race has to answer those
Justify.
questions.
Right.
Justify
Exactly.
that, you know.
but I was down in Tarrant County, Texas, and it's the first time I've seen like a real cowboy. The purchasing person came in with cowboy boots, had a spur on it. He had the little thing that you spit in, right? And
So he fulfilled every stereotype. So.
yeah, and you know, and that's when it really hit me because he was ignorant enough to share with me his mentality. There was no he was not covert about it. The real good ones are so smooth with it. You leave feeling good.
Yeah.
Right? And they never intended on doing business with you, but you leave there believing that there's a chance, right? This guy, you know, from the time he walked in, I knew that it wasn't a chance. I was scheduled to give a 1 hour demo. He came in 45 minutes after it was supposed to start and held me to the rest of the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after I finished, he said, "That's good." He said he's been doing business with the same people since he's been the procurement person, and he doesn't see why he needs to change. And if the people he's doing business with said that they're doing business with minorities, then he believes them. And he said, "Thank you for your time seeing us in Tarrant County, but that new garage that we built across the street, there were some minorities that did the landscaping." And I was like, "Wow, thank you."
Wow.
spit in his thing again, and I was like, wow, okay. And so much so that the lady that invited me, all she could do was apologize. She's like, I'm so sorry. Now you see what I'm dealing with. And I said, you know what? I appreciate you trying. And if you're going to try, I'm going to meet you halfway and at least come in and try to sell my wares and things like that. That doesn't hurt as much as the ones where you go in and they're just crabs in a barrel.
Right, right.
And all you could think is, if you knew my struggle just to get to this point, you would be helping.
And that's back to
you
what
would
I'm
be
saying.
celebrating a company like this.
We've gotten so comfortable, and we're resting on our laurels. And in the meantime, other communities are progressing, and the African American community is not progressing in the same. But those other communities would not be where they are if not for the work of our forefathers.
Exactly.
Right? And the lives that, we expended fighting for the liberties that now allow so many others to participate in the capital game. So, and like you said, they take for granted.
They take for granted,
They take for granted that the businesses that are out here risking, their livelihoods, every day. They just take for granted that, it's just something to do,
Right. With us
So
having...
And how difficult it can be.
This is the 4th year of our users conference.
Yeah, the 5th year.
5th year.
Okay.
So the first year, Donna said, Cecil, I have a great idea. Why don't you put on a golf tournament? And I said, yeah, I'm just learning how to play golf. I said, yeah, I'll do that. I'll start with my friends. That way I know I'll get some people out there to play. Right? It's just more important to have the golf tournament. Even if the people, the customers that are flying in, don't participate in the golf tournament. Like the fact that you can put golf tournament on your agenda for your conference, it just makes you look bigger.
Yes.
Even if it's just you and your friends going out to play golf. So I pick a place to play golf, right? And I call my friends. I say, hey, I'm putting on this golf tournament. This. They say, how much is it? And I said, $130 a person. They say, where are you playing? I said, I'm playing here. They said, oh, that's not worth $130. And it just cuts like a knife.
It does.
It's not about the golf game. It's not about playing golf. I'm just trying to get some people out there to play the game, right? It's not about playing golf.
So that's a nice segue for me to tell them about how we're going to celebrate this 25th anniversary celebration. So over the years, Cecil and I have thrown, and we're known for the parties that we throw. They've all been free.
Okay.
So I told my friends and colleagues, we're going to take advantage of our early morning software turning 25. And at the conference, Wednesday night, we have an opportunity for folks to buy tickets to our fabulous party. And it's back to our legacy is that these proceeds will support the middle school STEM program. So we're very transparent that please come out. There's only probably about 150 tickets that can be purchased, and we know tons of people, but we're expecting them to spend $125 for a ticket and for a very, very worthwhile cause to support this program that will provide these opportunities. We have to create our own pipeline.
That's true.
Right? We just talked about how reliant we are on other communities in many cases to create opportunities for our kids. We have to do it for ourselves, and that's what this STEM program is about. Oftentimes, Cecil are trying to hire and can't find qualified candidates. Right here in our city, which is majority African American. Why should we have to, go other places, right? And so we should be able to be a part of that solution. And so with this STEM program, we're going to be a part of it and introduce the middle school students, get their interest in technology, and create a way for them to see. And there's a way for me to create, an opportunity for myself. So we ask that, folks come out, support the event. You go online at prismcompliance.com and you can purchase tickets right there. So we got almost 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks before the event takes place on the 26th at the Royal Sonesta.
Okay.
See, that's what she does.
That's the marketing. And so how can we
I was
get
hanging on every word. I was like, where is it going to be?
Right.
Yeah.
So how can how can my people get in touch with you?
So the easiest way is to contact our office, and either I or my assistant Omar can assist with anyone who's interested in the Compass Conference.
Okay.
Interested in learning more about PRISM, or interested in supporting our event. We have opportunities for advertisement, opportunities for sponsorship, and opportunities to attend the 25th anniversary celebration. Our number is 410-394-9012.
Okay.
And so just give us a call and we'll help, get that assisted. You can also visit our website. If you go to PRISM, PRISM compliance.com, the information is there also on the conference.
Okay.
Learn more details about the conference. You can get access to buy gala tickets, as well as register for the conference as well.
And I'll post it in the Intimacy Chronicles group and on my Facebook page as well. So, yeah. We definitely have to have you all come back because I feel like it's so much information that we left on the table, but also we received some of the people listening tonight, especially Natasha. It gave her a fresh perspective. So I got to have y'all back.
Well, we would love to come back. We feel that, at least it's my view, we're kind of obligated. We've been blessed so richly that if this is a simple way for us to get back and and be an inspiration to someone else and make a difference. I rely on the opportunity so that because there's someone else that will bless us.
Of course.
And we haven't gotten here without other people reaching toward us, so we have to,
yes.
reach back. So if there's an opportunity, we'd love to.
I feel that you were put in my path for a reason.
Absolutely.
So I'm honored to have you and Cecil here tonight. And Rich and I have been working together for what, 4 years? 4 or 5? Yeah.
Almost 5 years now.
And it's so funny because I started working with him because he has a band called Tropical Soul, a jazz band. They are phenomenal.
Nice.
And 2 years ago, I asked him to be my co-host. So I'm loyal. When I develop a good relationship with someone, I like to keep that going because we can continue to be a blessing to one another. So
I'm definitely a novice here.
Yeah.
And there's no Phil Bradley here.
He was hesitant, but he's a great host with that radio voice of his.
But it makes it easy when you have because when the more you guys talk, the more we were genuinely interested. Just based on the comments. Like I said, you never know who you inspire.
True.
And it's sometimes you inspire people you don't even know, and that's just the the grand scheme of things. And I've learned a lot, and I definitely appreciate you guys sharing your story, sharing your candor, your honesty, and the struggles, the ups and downs, everything. I'm sure we only got the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, exactly.
There's just more to your story.
Right.
But I really appreciate you guys just spending time with us this evening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Both of you
did
are
good, man.
incredible. The love that you all have is amazing.
Behind the scenes, and I have to draw them out.
Yeah. So you haven't heard the end of Donna Stevenson and Cecil Robinson. We're going to have them back because we have a lot to learn from them, and we have to help one another. I can't have a platform like this and not bring people out to talk about what they do and how valuable they are in our community. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Hit that for me, please.